Storm Doris devastation. Schoolgirl fights for her life after gym roof collapses on 40 pupils while debris kills woman, 29, outside Starbucks as weather bomb heads to Europe leaving havoc behind. Storm Doris left a tragic trail of devastation in its path after battering Britain with winds of almost 100 miles per hour, as one woman was confirmed dead and many more were left fighting for their lives. The 29-year-old woman was killed by rotten wood blown off a building by the swirling winds outside a Starbucks coffee shop in Wolverhampton city centre, prompting more than a dozen horrified onlookers to call 999. A girl was left with life-threatening injuries after a ceiling collapsed in a school sports hall in Milton Keynes, while in Aldgate, London, dramatic footage showed a woman receiving emergency treatment after also being struck in the head. Two pensioners aged 70 and 80 were fighting for their lives in hospital after suffering neck injuries when a tree crashed onto their car while driving near Churchstone in Shropshire on Thursday morning. Doris gathered in pace over Britain, with a 94 miles per hour gust recorded at Capel Curig in northwest Wales as the storm made its way east, and 56,000 homes were without power in the Republic of Ireland. A harrowing video showed its capability to transform everyday objects into lethal projectiles, as a woman was filmed lying face down and motionless while receiving urgent medical attention in Aldgate, after being injured by debris in the storm. Mustafa Khan, who witnessed the aftermath while sat on a bus, said, "It's ridiculous how this can happen in the middle of London. This is not supposed to be a major storm. Everyone was going to work. We should have been told it was going to be this bad. I would have thought twice about leaving the house if I'd have known it was going to be this dangerous. I have little brothers who are walking to and from school today and I was really scared for them when I saw everything that was happening today." It later transpired a second woman had also been hurt in the same incident. A London ambulance service spokesperson said, "We were called at 1:30 p.m. to reports of an incident on Commercial Street, E1. We sent 2 ambulance crews to the scene, with the first of our medics arriving in 6 minutes. We treated 2 women at the scene for head injuries and took them to hospital." Following the woman's death in Wolverhampton, witness Rebecca Davis, 40, walked past and saw a woman aged between 20 and 30 receiving CPR having been apparently hit by a piece of roof which had fallen off a building. Paramedics arrived to find the woman with very serious head injuries and she was confirmed dead at the scene. It was claimed the victim, said to have been in her 20s, had been drinking outside at the shop when she was hit. "I think the wind broke it and caused it to fall. I don't know if it was hit by something else or just the wind did it," she said. She said that the woman had been hit right outside Starbucks. However, it was unclear if the debris had fallen from the coffee shop or from a nearby building. "I don't think anyone else was hurt. It was a big piece about the size of a coffee table but I think it just hit her," Mrs. Davis said. Il Inkabawaru, 28, added, "The ambulance came straight away and when we got to the center we saw a young woman on the floor being given CPR but she was not responding. It was in front of Starbucks. It was horrible. If we were there 3 minutes before it could have been us. She was a young woman who could have been someone's mother. It's just horrible." There was another woman sitting on a bench crying. "I went because I was in shock and didn't want to see any more. I was praying she would be okay, but I heard she had died. It's really scary to think a building could be unsafe in the city center." And John Jackson, 72, said, "It hit a group of people who were sitting outside Starbucks having a drink. It is hard to believe the young woman has died. They said the weather would be terrible but this was unimaginable." Gavin Hunt, 35, added, "I have no idea what family she might have but my thoughts are with them at this time. It makes you wonder that could have been me out walking and makes you realize something like this can happen." And a local shop worker added, "I was just doing my job when I heard lots of shouting, then an ambulance came and I noticed a group of people standing around. It looks like a big piece of wood had fallen from the roof." Following the death, a Starbucks spokesman said, "We are shocked and saddened by this terrible incident. We are supporting the police with their investigation and our store will remain closed until further notice." And Storm Doris was being blamed after a ceiling collapsed at a school in Milton Keynes, leaving a young pupil with life-threatening injuries. There were about 40 people in the sports hall at Southwood Middle School, In the town's Canibaro area, when an 8 feet by 5 feet section of the ceiling collapsed at just after 3:30 p.m., leaving 2 children injured. Thames Valley Police's acting superintendent Vince Gray said, South Central Ambulance Service NHS Foundation Trust, SCAS, was called to the scene and treated one child who had minor injuries. Thankfully, the child did not require treatment at hospital. Another child was assessed and treated at the scene by SCAS for life-threatening injuries and was transported to hospital. Our thoughts are with the child and their family at this extremely difficult time. The area was evacuated following the partial collapse of the ceiling. It is possible that the collapse of the ceiling was caused by the adverse weather conditions that the country has been experiencing overnight and into today. However, we will be conducting a joint investigation with Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service to determine the cause. Police said a cordon is in place at the scene but no other buildings have been affected. A school spokesman said, "We are cooperating fully with the relevant authorities in this investigation. Our thoughts are of course with this child and her family at this very difficult time." A school spokesman said, "We are cooperating fully with the relevant authorities in this investigation. Our thoughts are of course with this child and her family at this very difficult time." A message on the school's website says, "Unfortunately there has been an incident at Southwood School today where a part of the internal ceiling of the hall has fallen. We have been checked by health and safety officers who have confirmed that the building is safe, but obviously the hall will be out of use for some time." The X1 bus was blasted by gale force winds sweeping the UK on Walton Highway, near Wisbech, Cambridgeshire, at about 1:25 p.m. Police dashed to the accident scene after the vehicle toppled over near a roundabout by Worsle's farm shop. A Cambridgeshire police spokesman said, 5 people with minor injuries were taken to Queen Elizabeth Hospital as a precaution. The X1 bus service, run by First Group, was suspended between Peterborough and Norwich due to safety concerns. A First Eastern Counties spokeswoman said, "We can confirm that one of our double-deck vehicles overturned on the A47 between Wisbech and Peterborough at around 1:15 p.m. We immediately implemented our emergency procedures and mobilized our incident response team to the scene to provide support to those involved and the emergency services." She added, "The safety of our employees and our customers is our highest priority. Due to the worsening weather conditions we have suspended service on the X1 route between Norwich and Peterborough until weather conditions improve. All services from London Euston were suspended due to Storm Doris, with a failure of electricity between Crewe and Warrington Bank Quay causing chaos on Virgin trains, and several other lines suffering major disruption. At Victoria, trains were also heavily affected and a man was also taken to hospital after reportedly being hit by a newly built entrance to the underground station. Aer Lingus cancelled 12 flights between the UK and the Republic of Ireland in anticipation of the winds, while 36 flights out of London Heathrow were cancelled and another 5 at London City with other delays possible. Network Rail warned of 50 miles per hour speed restrictions for safety reasons on some services run by Southeastern, Arriva Trains Wales, Chiltern Railways, Grand Central, TransPennine Express and Virgin Trains East Coast. As the UK was battered by gales in the early hours, with 72 miles per hour at Abertern in West Wales, Met Office forecaster Mark Wilson said, "Winds are really starting to pick up now, mainly across western parts of the country." People whose homes and business premises have been battered by Storm Doris were reminded not to put themselves at risk when checking for damage to their property by the Association of British Insurers. There were reports of trees felled by the winds across the country, with one trapping a man in a van on the A374 in Cornwall, and others collapsing onto houses in London and Wigan. The 115 feet tall bridge linking the Isle of Sheppey with mainland of Kent was closed because of the bad conditions, while a 21 feet tree fell onto vehicles and the railings of a car park in Deptford, southeast London. An inarticulated lorry was flipped onto its side onto the central reservation of the M5 in Gloucestershire between junctions 8 and 9, Tewkesbury and Cheltenham at about 1 p.m., causing major delays. Doris also brought danger and traffic disruption to central London when scaffolding became dislodged atop an office block in the Aldwych at Holborn, where the green light has been given for a £15 million rooftop extension. The Met Office said 2 in. 5 centimetres, of snow has been recorded at Aboyne in Aberdeenshire and at Tulloch Bridge in the Highlands, and branded Storm Doris a weather bomb after the system underwent explosive cyclogenesis. It said, it has gone through what they call explosive cyclogenesis, so a deepening of 24 MB in 24 hours. Storm Doris is still Storm Doris. It does not mean it is necessarily any more severe than we had forecast already.